The sound of crickets rhythmically resonated in your ears during the summer heat, swinging lazily on the park's swing set. Breathing was a bit of a chore. You grasped at the muzzle, trying to pry it off from your head, but with no luck or success. "Hold still," spoke a croaky voice from behind. You did as you were told, feeling the weight of the muzzle fall from your head, striking your lap before it heavily crashed onto the dusty ground. You took in a gulp of air, fresh oxygen before you exhaled bone-chilling gas from your mouth. Shallow breaths followed after while you eased yourself from the choking muzzle. Clinking chains rattled beside you while a hooded figure swung languidly on the adjoining swing. It was the same thing every time. Shigaraki would always find a way to release you from your muzzle. It never stopped your family from producing another one at some point in time. "How long will you keep living like this?" he asked beside you. "They don't mean it," you slowly replied, your eyes still red from holding back tears. "That's a lie." You lowered your head, hoping that Shigaraki couldn't see your face past his hoodie, staring at the muzzle below you. You watched it begin to disintegrate slowly into dust, still unsure of how or what Shigaraki had done in order to free you. "I just want them to leave me alone," you softly spoke, watching the muzzle slowly eat into itself. "I want them to feel what I'm going through." As soon as the structure of your muzzle crumbled to ash, the wind picked up its remains, blowing into the breeze. "They don't understand that I'm dying inside." Suddenly something caught your eye, the corner of it in view. You recognized the shape of the handheld console anywhere. Turning to Shigaraki, whose fingers held onto it strangely. He always had a way with handling objects. "Wanna play a game?" he asked through his hoodie. "I brought two." His red eyes turned to you through the shade of his hoodie, showing no emotion at all. Despite the hurt and pain you felt about your quirk, your lips curled at the offer, reaching your hand out to grab the console from him. "Hello? Hello?" That familiar tenor finally reached your ears while your vision began to focus against the same bright fluorescent lights overhead. There was a ringing in your ears. It shook your head just a little, realizing that you were coming out from unconsciousness. Again. The doctor's eyes were the first you focused on, finding them smiling down at you, while that sweet scent filled your sinuses again. "Can you hear me?" she asked, flashing a small torch into your eyes. You immediately swiped her hand away, squinting from the sting that damn torch always gave every time you found yourself back in this bed. "I'll take that as a yes," she replied, leaving you be. You pushed yourself up from the bed with a groan and a lightheadedness that spun your head on the spot. Propping yourself onto the back of the bedhead helped alleviate the dizziness, but, as always, you were in the same room, with the same equipment, and that same bittersweet smell. "Good news, you were able to be conscious for longer than the last time you've used your quirk," informed the doctor while she wrote notes in her journal again. "Oh, what's the worst news?" you asked groggily. "You've been unconscious for 3 weeks. You inhaled deeply through your nose, attempting to take in as much oxygen as possible through the breathing apparatus you wore, before that scent hit your sinuses like a wave. You haphazardly pulled the mask off of your face to take a deeper breath of clear air, turning to the doctor with heavy-lidded eyes. "I think the Grand Commander would be pleased to know that you've improved significantly." You listened to her words, but your body was still, trying to rid of the dizziness that swam in your head. You were so used to your cold, freezing breath in what past life you had, that now breathing alone was a challenge in itself. The doctor made sure to inform you of the whole process of bringing you back after the accident. Comprehending your death was a process alone before she explained how her quirk worked. This doctor, the woman who tended to your medical needs, was the reason why you lived, and why your quirk was no longer the same. "How's your breathing?" she asked, curious of your well-being. "Fine," you simply answered. "How did I get out?" A playful chuckle escaped the doctor's lips while she took your wrist, checking your pulse. "You don't remember?" You glanced at her for a moment before you turned your head towards the bedside table, finding the gas mask that you used earlier. Now that you stared at it, you noticed how it resembled nothing like the muzzle you were forced into for years. It was a symbol of control. Your control over your quirk and your use of it. That memory returned in your mind, still hazy from your unconscious slumber. "Where's Shigaraki?" you asked. "He'll be visiting you shortly," spoke the doctor while she notated observations in her papers. "He has been over the course of your coma. I'm sure he'll be thrilled to see you awake." You reached out for your mask, taking it into your hands and staring at it, playing with its straps. The doctor continued to speak, yet you paid no attention to the words she uttered, now admiring the design of the gas mask in your hands. "Any way I could grab fluorescent paint?" you asked. "What?" "Paint. I'd like to customize this." The doctor's eyes glanced between the mask and yourself before a warm smile appeared on her lips, only to be interrupted by the creaking of the door. Tomura Shigaraki stood before the frame, entering in with his hands in his pockets and his shoulders hunched. "I'll look into it," replied the doctor as she made her way towards the door, passing Shigaraki. "Please refrain from doing anything rash." With the click of the doorknob, you were left alone with Shigaraki, the man seating himself by the foot of your bed, his face clear of that hand that would cover it so often. "Good evening, Pixie," he greeted. "Good of you to finally wake up." Well, you weren't expecting anything less from him. "Nice to see you too," you spoke in turn, fiddling with the mask. "Do you remember anything?" Straight to business, as usual. "Just that Atsuhiro left me," you started. "And that I took care of one of the intruders, but it got so foggy after that. I just remember some bright lights. I remember being carried. I don't think I could recall anything else." Shigaraki watched you keep your gaze on the mask in your hands. Not once had you lifted your head to meet his eyes. It seemed your fixation with the mask was the only thing that kept your attention. In a way, he felt that perhaps his choice in his accessory wasn't ideal. "Do you hate it?" asked Shigaraki, finally bringing your eyes up to his. "The mask."
Do you hate it?
You took in a breath, still finding it strange that no chill ever exhaled thereafter. Your thumbs rubbed it along the mask's surface, feeling its texture completely different to the cold of the muzzle long ago.
No.
You quietly replied.
Actually, I thought about it, and it's nothing like what I used to be strapped in. It's different.
A small smile appeared on your face, one that Shigaraki caught immediately. Though he had already taken your answers when you were inundated from your quirk, to hear something from you while sober, in a way, was reassuring. He shifted on the foot of the bed, his red coat splayed across the top of the thin linen that covered your body, while he handed something to you. A box, tied with a simple bow. You stared at it perplexed, confused by this sudden gift.
More?
You questioned, lifting your mask in your hands.
Isn't this already enough?
It's Christmas,
he stated out of the blue.
Wait, what?
You've been knocked out for a while, and you've been mumbling in your sleep. The doctor had mentioned some erratic brain activity, and you need more rest.
She never mentioned any of that.
Huh. Why would she?
Questioned Shigaraki with a spiteful tongue.
She'll only respond if you ask, but that's if you know what answer you're after. I just know you deserve to know, Pixie.
You sighed in defeat before you took the gift from Shigaraki's hand, laying it in your lap with a confused expression crossing your brows.
I never knew you cared much for Christmas.
You noted, receiving a hum from Shigaraki while he dug in his pockets.
I don't. Much.
He clarified.
But it's a better time than any to give you this.
From out of his pocket, he pulled out a key, handing it to you while you took it from his hand.
You need a place of your own to stay and rest, and not the dormitories where the grunts live. Atsuhiro made sure you had a room of your own.
You stared at the key, finding the crook of your lips curling upwards at the thought. A room for yourself. Finally. No longer would you have to share with the lower soldiers of this organization. You wondered about the decision, if that intrusion had anything to do with the choice that had been made. Were all of your efforts paying off in the end?
Thanks, Shigaraki.
You spoke, placing the key and the mask by the bedside table, soon focusing on the gift still waiting to be unwrapped.
Then, what's this?
Open it,
he instructed before you did just that, tearing into the less than perfect wrapping of the box. As soon as you were able to tie the gift of its gift wrap, you saw a very familiar handheld console. It wasn't sitting in its own packaging. It sat in a generic box, the age of it well worn, and yet had been well loved.
Isn't this the one you'd lend me?
You asked, curious.
I have a few handy.
He answered.
That one is yours. Exclusively.
You couldn't help that smile again, remembering your afternoons with him at the park, simply playing a game between each other. No talk, no chatter. Just this affinity with each other. That dream before you woke, despite the pain that it carried, it also brought some joy. Memories with Shigaraki were far and few, but again, though he had a spiteful side, he felt warm in his approach. The bed shifted again while Shigaraki made himself comfortable next to you, sitting atop the thin blanket as he pulled another console from his large jacket. Setting himself up, he held onto the console, his gloved hands keeping him from damaging the device. It was odd to see him hold something properly. Funny how you had gotten used to him holding objects in his own unique way. It was what made him distinctive from most. He continued to pay attention to his console, keeping his eyes glued to the screen without another word. You smiled while you started up what was now yours, finding that the battery had been charged fully and ready to play. The usual game started up. Creature Junction. Something you never thought Shigaraki would be interested in, but had found it enjoyable with him nonetheless. You smirked at the screen as it lit up, still left on your last saved game. You couldn't even remember how long ago that was. However, not only were you continuing from this point, you found gifts everywhere on your island. All dropped by Shigaraki.
Merry Christmas, Pixie.
He mused beside you, his arm flush against yours while he trudged around in-game. For the next few hours, the both of you stayed in your hospital bed, enjoying the game and making remarks here and there about a few things, even going so far to see a smile crack on his lips, until the doctor finally returned, informing all members ready for the meeting about the invasion weeks ago. Thank you for tuning in to another fanfiction reading. If you enjoy what I do or would just prefer to fall asleep to my voice, please like this video and also please subscribe to my channel. I will be providing as much content as possible, so be sure to keep an ear out for any new content along the way. Thank you for visiting. I hope to hear back from you next we meet.